Okay.
All right. Here's a crazy idea. What if now, before the holidays, is actually the best time to detox? Not in January, but after the damage is done. I'm talking about a gentle reset that makes your body more resilient than before chaos hits, before the pumpkin pie and the parties hit full force. What if you gave your body a little support? And that's what we were going to talk about. But now it's going to be something different. You're going to find out about it, just like Martin will, right after this. Hey, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast. This is the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and to me. Some Facebook pages may not be working, and that's Facebook. That's not us. Sorry if you're waiting for us on those pages. So we're here to restore vitality to you and the planet. I'm Scott Patton, your co-host, along with Martin Patella, health engineer at Life Enthusiast. And Martin, how are you doing today?
Good. I wanted to say I love surprises. I think it's the spice of life. I love to be thrown in an unknown territory and see if I can figure my way through it.
Me too. That's one thing that we do have in common. And I think that is, well, first of all, gray hair. We have tons of experience, and it's a challenge to rise up to, something that's really unusual. And I think today you're going to agree that there's some unusual things that we're going to be talking about. And so I want to preface it by saying I'm in Playa del Carmen. It's a beautiful sunny day. There's not a cloud in the sky. The ocean is just over here. It's a perfect environment, and I should be happy as happy can be. And unfortunately, my heart is breaking for a number of reasons. Another thing that happens, by the way, I think when you get older is tragedies and everything else have a lot different impact than when you're young. For example, if somebody is 90 and they pass away, it's, they had a good life. If they're 25 and they pass away, such a waste of all that potential. And so it's not that anybody passed away, but it's kind of how we look at different things, right?
I keep anticipating what's coming out of you.
Yeah. I'm going to go in tons of different directions because there's like 3 or 4 things that happened this morning that really were kind of like, were devastating for sure. In one of them for sure, absolutely. Another one was just like such a heartfelt story, and I'm hoping I can find it. I forwarded it to myself on Facebook so I could read the story, and I just thought it was a beautiful story. And a lot of times we talk about health in terms of what we stick in our mouth, but what we stick in our eyes and in our hearts are also really important to our health. So let me start off with the devastating part. A friend of mine, Trixie, in the Philippines, her father-in-law has been in ICU with kidney failure for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Has had problems for much longer than that. And today I asked her, and I don't talk to her very often because they're at ICU with their, Dang's father, and it's really upsetting because he's not. I'm assuming he's in his late 50s, 60s. So to me, that's young, right? And to have kidney failure. And there's been a number of people that I've known and in their family in the Philippines who have had kidney failure. And, and it's the juxtaposition of the way it occurs in the Philippines versus Canada. Okay. So my mom's cousin died at 94, 95 after 10 years of dialysis. So here's a guy, he lives 45 minutes south of Regina, 3 times a week, is driven in, sits on dialysis for however long you are, and goes back. And after 10 years, he finally says, I ain't doing this anymore. I've had it, right? I'm old, I'm tired, I'm not in pain. I'm just going to go, right? So that's it. No more dialysis. And he passed away, and that was the end of it. And the financial burden on the family, zero. And, we can complain about, the health system in Canada all we want, but it was covered by the government. So Trixie's father-in-law is in the hospital, and one of the things she shared with me was, up to now, they have a 2 million Filipino peso bill at the hospital, which works out to $35,000 US, right? That's basically a middle class salary for 3 years. How are they going to pay that off, right? I mean, what do you even do, right? Like,
Why don't they unplug him?
Well, you see, that's another aspect of the difference between Filipinos and Canadians, right? They will do everything they can to get another week, day, month, year out of it, right? Okay. And maybe he will recover. I mean, I don't know all the details.
People do not recover from kidney failure.
Yeah. So so that was kind of like the beginning of my day, getting that news.
Do you mind if I share a kidney story?
Yes, share a kidney story, Martin.
Exula was started by Larry Meyer, who became Javari Oberon, who at some point got bitten by a brown recluse spider. And it developed, it was on his chest, on the front, under his rib cage, and it developed into something about the size of an avocado. And instead of slicing it open and draining it, the medical people squeezed it and essentially pushed the toxic material into his body. So, I mean, he's the superfood guy. He has been living on superfoods. He's strong as an ox, but this created a pretty sad event. And then the thing that happened right after that, or soon thereafter, is he had a scratch on his ankle. Nothing much. He just scratched his ankle. But it got infected with a staphylococcus infection, and he went from completely lucid to comatose in 12 hours. They were essentially going to cut off his leg and hold him into the emergency, and he got the emergency room care. But it was assessed as full sepsis, a flesh-eating disease. Either we cut off the leg or we go heavy. So they went heavy with antibiotics. And there's this one particular one called fluvoxetine, which you can go look it up online. Have you been floxed is how the people now call it. Anyway, Cipro is the most famous one. Anyway, he was given a whole bunch of antibiotics. So they saved him from the sepsis, but in the process, wrecked his pancreas and his kidneys. So he's now on dialysis, and he's losing his eyes because of the diabetes that was induced by the breakdown of his pancreas. So he lasted 7 years in that state. And he was, during that time, he invented this product we called Lazarus. Lazarus, it was his attempt to try and rebuild his pancreas and his kidneys. He put in everything that he knew to put it back together. And I remember him sharing a story. He said a doctor wheeled his chair close to him like this in his face and say, "Mr. Oberon, you do realize that anyone else who has had these conditions would be long dead." Right? That sort of thing. Well, anyway, so Javari lasted 7 years, but he had lost his vision through the process, and he was on dialysis three times, I think, at least twice or three times a week. And it was the day after you're dialyzed, you feel shitty because your electrolytes are too low. The next day, you feel normal because your electrolytes are about right. And the day after, you feel really shitty because your electrolytes are getting too thick. And that's when you go in and you have your electrolysis and rinse and repeat. And you sit there for about 3 hours. You can get to read a book or just try and sleep or whatever while the machine does its thing. And then, after 7 years of this, blind and going deaf and whatever, he said, you know what, people, it's been enough. I've had a decent life. The quality of life is done. What I'm doing next is discontinuing care. And so he was due for a session on Saturday, and on Monday he already was comatose and died. And that's the story.
That's the story. Yeah, and you bring up a really interesting point about life and death that is a Canadian issue. Canada is leading the charge towards ending life when there's a problem.
Yeah.
It's called MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying. And it's a very, very slippery slope, and it's a difficult moral issue, an ethical issue.
Yeah.
Because in Canada, first of all, it was, and everybody understands, like, if you're in constant pain and there's no hope and you're slowly going to be dying or whatever, like, why suffer? Which is the, the nice, like, yeah, let's put you out of your suffering sort of thing, right? My grandma was in a home for 7 years after a stroke, and basically she was like this, drooling, and couldn't feed herself. So, was there anybody in there? We don't know, right?
And it took staff of 4 or 5 to support her ongoing existence.
Yeah. And I mean, but who cares, right? It's grandma. I don't care how many people it takes to keep her alive.
Yeah, but you don't even know.
The life was terrible. And all of my aunts and uncles and my parents have, after that experience, were all, if I'm like that, pull the plug. And the difference between the medical system 40 years ago and now was they had written this thing out. The nurses, like, leave them alone if they get pneumonia. She got pneumonia and they cured it. So then she lived another year, right? And we're like, oh, right. And when my dad had leukemia and his last day living, he was not quite right. So my mom called the doctor. The doctor came over, said, yeah, called the ambulance taking him to the hospital. My mom's looking at him, and then she looks at him again and says, oh, he's not breathing. And the attendant notices at the same time and is ready to revive him. And mom is like, no, he's like 80 pounds of bone and thistle or gristle.
He was very skinny by then.
Yeah, he was totally starved. He couldn't get out of bed. Like, no, he's gone. Let him go, right? And like, that was 15 years ago. Today, it's like, you have a sore on your pinky, Scott. Like, maybe we should just, like, end your life.
Actually, you know what's interesting? I have heard people being offered this end of life option because they are disabled and poor, right? Like, that the government, as we have it, does not support people well. It's a horrendously low amount of money that goes to these people who cannot work. They can't work. They're just living. And so we're not supporting them well enough to have an okay life.
Right.
And so they're actually offered this option, saying, well, look, if it's too difficult for you, just here's the sign this paper, we'll just terminate you.
Yeah. And it's actually worse than that, Martin. In the beginning, it was, your quality of life is going to be terrible. You're going to be in pain, blah, blah, blah. We feel sorry for you. Here's an option. Now it's being expanded to, oh, you have mental illness. We should get rid of you. Oh, you're homeless. Oh, we should get rid of you. So the slippery slope we're going down to the point where, and it's been delayed till I think the beginning of 2027, but it's not your choice. It's going to the point
Also,
where,
to the point where you'll be essentially given the exit papers.
yeah, it's like you go in, oh yeah, like you're depressed. Yeah, you are depressed. Okay. We're going to take you into this room and we're going to stick something in you, which is going, and the horrors.
It will be pleasant. Don't worry.
No, it's the opposite. It looks pleasant because the first thing they give you is a paralyzing concoction. So you
Right.
cannot move. Because
Yeah.
if you could move, you'd be screaming in pain. So you're in your body, right? You feel
Okay,
everything.
so you're dying in pain, but you can't do anything about it?
And it can take a day.
How's that so? I thought that they were just going straight morphine for a pleasant
No,
exit.
there's been some of the people that have investigated this have said, listen, you gave this person this, and also they think you're dead. Remember the bells in England?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so those of you that don't know the story, all the cemeteries would have these bells. So they would say, okay, Sam is dead. I don't want to say anything bad about George. And so they bury him. But sometimes they wake up. So they have this string in the coffin that if they wake up, they pull the string and the bell above rings and the caretaker in the cemetery comes and digs you out because, there was no heartbeat, there was no this, there was no that, but you came back. So same thing where they've had these families where the person is brain dead, right? And they pull them, they say, okay, he's dead and everything else. And the mom or whatever is watching and the hand kind of moves or whatever. Like, no, he's stop, right? And the next thing you know, the eyes open and he recovers, right?
I actually saw an interview, Scott, with a guy who was definitely dead, like more than half an hour dead. They were zipping him up into the bag when he came
Woke
back.
up. Yeah.
Reboot.
So we've gone from this is to let you not have any more pain and suffering to what people's are like undesirable. And this is the world according to Scott, right? Undesirable that we need to get rid of. And this is a slippery slope, right? Because what happens if you're like, I'm depressed today, I've been depressed for a month. Does that mean 6 months from now that I won't have found what, cured everything? Like,
Well,
my mother-in-law is a really good example of this. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on and on, but she was depressed. She took a bunch of pills to try and kill herself. My girlfriend, who became my wife, found her, called the ambulance. The ambulance pumped out her. They pumped her out. She lived, and she was just a zombie with the drugs that they gave her. So one of the reasons that she was depressed and everything else was she felt that she had failed her daughter, who was anorexic. Well, the daughter married me, and I said, forget being anorexic. If you think you're fat, ask me, I'll tell you. Okay, do you trust me? Yeah. So I come home from work. Lisa says, hey, mom and dad are coming over after dinner. I said, oh, great, So dinner is a little bit late, and for some reason, I bought Black Forest cake home from the groceries. I work at a grocery store. So I go to the doorbell rings. I go to the door. I say, come on in. We're just finishing up dinner. So they come into the dining room. I sit at my spot. Lisa's at her spot. Mom and dad are sitting down. Lisa's eating a Black Forest cake. No complaints. All of her mom's life, or all of Lisa's life, her mom would fight with her to have an ice cream cone or have something,
Please eat something.
Yeah. And there she is watching her daughter happily eat Black Forest cake with no problem. Within a week, she was off all of her drugs and she had a job at Eaton's selling clothes. And she was happy, right?
Oh, so she gave up being depressed and guilty?
Yeah, because my daughter is okay. So everything is fine. And it just all melted away. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? Yeah. But if we cut people short, and I'm not saying that there aren't people.
Let me just butt in with my engineer stuff, which is food controls your mood, because through over alkalization you can get depressed, and through over acidification you can get either anxious or schizophrenic. And those things happen, and the mainstream, the pharmaceutical world, doesn't want to know about it. they would like to give you a Prozac or a something something instead.
Yeah. So, yeah. So our point is that you can do something to improve the quality of your life. And obviously, from Javari's story, you can also have a bad thing happen and extend it, because he was, I don't know how productive he was, but he was still contributing right up until the end, because, you know, his products and everything else were quite a legacy for him. So anyway, this whole kidney thing hit me, and it brought back, like, I know a 23-year-old lady in Mombasa, Kenya, who has been going into the hospital for surgery. They think she has tumors and growths and everything else at 23, right? And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, right? And then I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and I meet a lady, and she's got endometriosis, and she's got this and that. She's always in pain. And she's like, I don't know, late 20s, right? So, I mean, these people very young who should be in the prime of their life, enjoying life, have, I guess, been in a way more toxic environment even than you and I were in when we were teenagers, and are really suffering for it. And then the other side of it is, I know a 56-year-old lady who played volleyball on a team today. She sent me pictures of it, you know, who's perfectly healthy, vibrant, happy, and jumping all over the place like a teenager. And it's just kind of like, there's something really, really wrong with the lifestyle that we're giving people. And this, the corollary to this lady in Colombia who's 56 is, when the vaccines came out, I asked her, I says, did you take it? She said, she looked at me like I was an idiot. Why would I take that garbage, right? Whatever the Spanish for that was, right? And she's a grade 5 education, and she knew not to take it, right? Whereas these college-educated PhD types that are on their 25th booster, it just blows my mind, right? And of course,
do you mind if I babble about that for a moment?
let's babble about that for a moment.
I think it's the liberal mindset. You know, there are people who are sort of team players. They want to do good for humanity. And when I want to do right, I'll do it for the team. And so when I have this mindset of this, we would see that as the Democrat or the liberal or whatever, those folks that will vote to the left of the center. They like to, or they do prefer to feel like they belong. This we, humanity, are in this together. And so when they are told or sold,
Do this for grandma, right? You remember?
yeah, when they are sold this lie by the pharmaceutical companies that they are doing it for the greater good of the society, with their bleeding hearts, they go out and they lay it on the line for the team. You know, and they have been deceived. And of course, every doctor that has been administering this, I think, would have a emotional crisis if he had to, or she had to, admit to themselves that they have knowingly administered poison. So they will keep telling themselves the story that this is good, because the alternative is just terrible, right? Why would I want to feel like I knowingly put poison into people's bodies? So I don't want to believe it. Therefore, I will defend to the end the belief that this is good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story.
I think you're right. And I think that what we need to do is we need to change that story somehow from, you did what you thought was right, you were lied to, you were, people that you trusted that have taught you everything that you know about medicine have lied to you about this. And so you should be angry about it. And I mean, we see that with parents too. Like, most parents who lose a child because of vaccinations won't admit that it was the vaccines, because they were doing it to protect their child, right?
Yeah, it's for the good of the
And there's a few parents now that are saying, you know what, here's my son. He died 3 years ago from the COVID vaccine. Here's all the documentation, everything else, and I'm not letting go until, heads have rolled, or we have justice and that sort of thing. And but that's really rare, because most parents are going to be saying, well, the doctor doesn't know why he just passed away suddenly. And we see, I see so many 16-year-old football players, soccer players, that die on the pitch, or the kids go to
let me speak to that engineering bit of that. This specific technology is directly accessing the mitochondria. So the cells that have the highest mitochondria density are the ones that are most affected. They are the ovaries, the heart, the brain, the liver, and the muscles. Okay. The more energy you need to exchange, the greater the density of the mitochondria, and this technology damages its ability to convert. And there we go. Right. So the more healthy and the more active you are, the better candidate you are to end up in trouble.
So crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the story. So you were on the kick of trying to explain what happens with the medical system and the ethics of dying. Yes?
Yeah, well, that's the MAID thing. And I just think that, it starts off like, oh, this is a really good thing. Like, who wouldn't want their loved one to not suffer anymore when there's no hope?
But how do you know?
Well, but that's one question. And the other question is, that's okay. Where's the line now, right? Like, oh, we went from someone that's going to be paraplegic and brain dead for the next 25 years to someone who's depressed. When did they get depressed? Last month or 6 months ago or whatever? Are they going to be depressed for their whole life?
And what made them depressed?
And the homeless or vets. Like in New Brunswick, the government is holding a meeting. They've invited all the vets that live in New Brunswick to this meeting, and they're going to be talking about MAID.
Yeah.
So, got hurt in combat somehow, or we gave you a vaccine and that damaged you. So we're going to tell you how you can end your life. Like, that's just insane. It's just insane that our government is pushing it, as opposed to, someone who's really been.
Here's an interesting part. More vets, people who have been in conflicts or whatever, get PTSD. And these people are dying by suicide in a very, very high proportion. So this is just an accelerated, well, we'll help you because you're heading there anyway.
Right.
But it's sad that we have not focused on the solution, which I believe exists. I think we have it in our store, in our hands.
Yeah, if they wanted to do something to help, they could, right? Yeah. Like, give them a home, put them in part of the community, find something for them to do.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, the cortisol ease that Elijah, veteran himself, developed for the veterans to deal with the PTSD. And then he valiantly tried to get this into the Veterans Affairs. They kicked him out. They left him off. They just sent him away. We have our ways. Don't you bother us with yours.
Yeah, and look at the results.
Yeah, awful. They speak for themselves.
We're going to take a 10-second break and be right back. All right, so we've just been discussing some pretty heavy duty, for me, somewhat depressing stuff.
Definitely triggering.
And we're coming to the end of our time, and I wanted to share a story that a friend of mine posted, that I posted on my page so that I would be able to read it. And I'm hoping I found Facebook is just nuts. Like I had it a minute ago, and then my iPad went off, and now can I find it? But it's a story that no.
So if
And I
I go
just
to your account, I should be able to see it.
well, I'm on my account and I don't see it, which is
All right.
really weird because this is not a story that is. It's a heartwarming story,
All right.
and
So I'm going to go to your page, and I'm going to see if I can find it.
it is so weird.
So what is it now? Compared the jab to unjabbed?
No,
Let's
I found it on my friend's page. I would like
Okay,
to
then.
read this. It'll probably take a couple minutes, but I think this is, part of everything is balance, right? So
Yeah.
we've been talking about some pretty dark things, and I wanted to talk about something that I think is just beautiful. And here we go. My name is Raymond. I'm 73 years old. I work in a parking lot at St. Joseph's Hospital. I wear an orange reflective vest. I make minimum wage. People don't notice me mostly, but I notice everything. Every morning at 6 a.m., I saw the same black car. A young man was driving. His grandma was in the passenger seat looking weak and tired. I guess she was going for chemo. He would drop her off, then spend 20 minutes trying to find a parking spot. One day I asked him, "What time are you coming tomorrow?" He said around 6:15. I told him, "A7 will be empty. I will save it for you." He asked, "You can do that?" I said, "I can now." Next morning, I stood at that spot. Cars honked, circled, got mad, but I didn't move. When he pulled in, he asked, "Why would you do this?" I told him, "Because she needs you, not stuck out here being stressed." He cried right there in the parking lot. Soon the word spread.
I'll continue. A dad with a sick baby, a wife visiting her dying husband, a son scared to go into the cancer unit. I started coming at 5 a.m. with a notebook so I could save spots for families who were hurting. People stopped honking. They began to understand that someone else was fighting something much harder than finding a parking spot. One morning, a businessman shouted, "I have a meeting." I said, "Then walk. This spot is for somebody whose hands are shaking too much to drive." He drove away. The woman behind him hugged me and said, "My son has leukemia. Thank you for seeing us." The hospital tried to stop me until letters came in, dozens of them. Raymond made our hardest days easier. He gave us one less thing to cry about. The hospital changed the rules. They made 10 blue spots called reserved parking for families in crisis, and they asked me to run it. My favorite moment? A man whose mother survived brought me a wooden box he built. We hung it by the spots. Inside were tissues, prayer cards, mints, and a note. "Take what you need. You're not alone. Raymond and friends." Now people leave blankets, snacks, chargers, and small gifts of love. I am 73. I direct traffic. But I've learned something. Healing doesn't always start in a hospital room. Sometimes it starts in the parking spot where someone says, "I see you. Let me help you carry this." So pay attention. Someone near you is struggling with something big while fighting through the small things. Hold the door. Save the spot. It's not fancy, but it means everything. Yep. Yep. There we go. It's a
There
cool
we go.
story.
It is. And there's a lot of good in the world, and that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, Martin, thank you for finishing the story for me. Any last words before we sign off today?
Today is the day before Thanksgiving, and I I'm reminded that gratitude or giving thanks is on our minds, especially. It actually should be every day because the vibration of gratitude is that which makes better life possible. When you see something you like, you are in your body making more of that. When you see something that you are lacking, or when you're focusing on that which you do not have, you also make more of that. So today, I just want to remind everyone to look in the eyes of their loved ones and tell them just how much they mean to you. Scott, you mean a lot to me.
Thank you, Martin. All right. Well, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. And you've been listening and watching to the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. Hug someone close.
Hey! Hey!